All right, we are gonna do a super quick and easy barrette cover. So these are made for your little standard, little snappy barrettes. Size, they're just under 2 inches when you actually measure these guys. So it would be the 2-inch size, but it's not quite 2 inches. I think when it bends open, it probably is, but with the curvature, it's slightly under. So these are sized for these 2-inch sizes here. All right, so they just slide in your barrette. I have one hand here, so I can't show too easily, but this part slides in here, which I can't do with one hand, but you slide it with the opening back here, and there we go. Sort of kind of got it. Slide that in here, and it covers the back of the barrette. I put it in backwards, but and it snaps on, but obviously not backwards the way I just did it. All right, so for this, all you need is some non-fraying material. I have my vinyl here, some stabilizer in your hoop. I'm using cutaway. You could use tearaway depending on the density of the actual design of these. I'm gonna have a few of these. So use your preference here on what you would for the normal density of a design. For my backing, I'm gonna use some olefin, which is a polypropylene non-woven fabric, but it does not fray and it's really thin. So it's nice to use in the back of things that you don't want to add a lot of bulk to, because you don't want to use 2 layers of vinyl on these guys, or else you're not going to really want to stay closed. So use something thin, like this pot, like the Olefun's a great option. I just saw this at Joann for $2 a yard. Their version of it works really well. I use it in my notebook covers as well, and some other projects that I have where I want a backing, but I don't want to add the density or the bulk behind it. So once you have all your materials, you're going to go to your hoop and load your design. All right, so we're on the machine now. The first step here is going to be stitching on your stabilizer directly, just so you get a placement of where you need to place your vinyl. So it's just a simple outline stitch. All right, so now we have our outline as to where we're going to place our vinyl. So place your vinyl however you want, just making sure that you are covering up all of those placement stitches. This very first step here, after your placement, is going to stitch essentially what's going to be the top stitching. So our final stitching outline won't cover the entire design, so we want to make sure that we leave the opening in the back to slide in. So this just makes sure it looks polished and finished. It's kind of like a faux stitching right here. So it's just going to be right on the edge of the widest part of that design. So at this point, if we are doing a barrette cover that has stitching on it, like the snowflake one that I have, you would go ahead and proceed until you get to the very last step of the design. But this one's just a simple outline one. There's no stitching, so just pretend there is stitching there if you were doing one, or if you're doing a plain one, that's how you do a plain one. So from here, we're gonna take our hoop off of our machine, and we're gonna flip it over, and we're gonna get stuck in the needle here with my stabilizer. And from here, what you're going to do is you're going to place your backing fabric down, making sure that you cover all those stitches and secure that in place. All right, so I have my backing fabric down. It's covering all of my lines for my step one here. This is the olefin. I'm securing that in place with tape, and go ahead and return this back to your machine. And then you're going to run the very last step, which is going to be the rest of this outline, leaving this part open. All right, so that part is done. We're gonna go over to the table and we're gonna cut this out. All right, so we're at our table. We're gonna go ahead and pop this out of our hoop. Set that to the side, and we're gonna go ahead and trim these up, going about 1/4 of an inch or so away from that line of stitching. When you're cutting on vinyl, I found the easiest way to do this is to turn the vinyl and not your scissors as you turn, to keep a nice even line. And I also like to get rid of excess too, it makes it easier. All right, so there's that, there's the front. From the back side, just flip this extra little tabby thing down and go ahead and just trim across. And then you would go in and trim any loose threads you have, but here we go. So this slides in with the bigger part in. I had it backwards before. So slide this in place, get it all the way in down there, and then close it and you're done. And you can use novelty prints if you don't pick one of the design options, but these are super quick and easy. You can make a bunch of these in the hoop. Again, these are for the 2-inch barrettes, and you got a little bit of wiggle room. If it's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, once you get it in there, you've got a little bit of room, if you can see in there, if your barrette isn't exactly 2 inches, if it's a little smaller or bigger, but keep it closed, and that's it. They're super easy and super fun.